Welcome back, sinners, to another episode of Saturday Night Cinema. As always, I'm your host, Sawyer St. Sin, and tonight we will be talking Resurrection. And just a side note real quick, if you do hear some rumbling in the background, we are having some thunderstorms right now, so let's just consider that ambiance. Okay? So, following with our stories of resurrection, we are talking Return of the Living Dead 3. So, release date October 29th, 1993. Put out by director Brian Yuzna. He did some work on the Reanimator series and some other things. We've got our cast. I'm only going to name off two because they're really who the story revolves around, right? So, we have our main female lead is Mindy Clark. She plays Julia Walker. And then we have J. Trevor Edmond as her boyfriend, Kurt Reynolds. I know, right? I'm just saying. So, picture it. Los Angeles, 1993. In the most makeshift army containment center I've ever seen in my life. Like, literally, it's just like construction pods inside of a building. That's the security measures don't seem like they're very much, right? So, Kurt's dad, who is like a colonel, right? He's overseeing this project. And, well, he can't find his security card. But that doesn't matter right now. We've got to show the newcomer from Washington what we've been working on. So we have, the toxin from all of the others, which is literally the only thing that ties all three of the Return of the Living Deads together. It's literally just the toxin. Which we're not going to get into how irritated that makes me. Anyways, so we see that they're like reanimating corpses, and they have figured out this basically freezing, tranquilizing dart that like freezes their brain enough to like slow them down and like stop them in their tracks, for, I don't know, would you say five minutes probably, give or take. But then, one gets reanimated and he starts tearing off limbs, right? All the while, Kurt and Julia have broken in and they see this happening, and Julia's kind of like getting excited. Like, she's really the only person that I think I know that would be like sexually aroused by seeing a corpse reanimated and then killed and then come back to life again. Anyways, so like a pin from her thing drops, they have to get out there real fast. So they don't really see the zombie attack. They just see that he got reanimated and then they put a frozen bullet in his head. Anyways, they go back to Kurt's house, they're getting it on, and oh, lo and behold, Daddy shows up. Where Dad is telling them like, hey, listen, sir, you need to pack up the house because we out by like this weekend. We're moving somewhere else. And Kurt's like, I'm not doing it. That's like, I've just been here 6 months. I've just finally began to make friends. Like, I'm not doing it. And he storms off with his girlfriend. And they're riding along on his motorcycle, and she's getting a little too handsy, putting her hands between his legs, getting a little feisty, which causes him to crash, and she goes flying off the back of the motorcycle like a crash test dummy right into a telephone pole and dies on impact. Well, Kurt has the card from, the military branch, and well, he just saw a corpse get reanimated, so let's take Julia there and reanimate her. number one stupid thing that the kid does, right? Just leave her dead. I'm sorry, just leave her dead. Look, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. Miss you, Meatloaf. Anywho, so as he's doing it, he can't quite get the containment, like, for the toxin, like, going. So he just decides, like, hey, good idea. Let's just pry this open, pop it up, and just let the gas, like, you know. I mean, it works. She comes back to life. But also in the process, he lets out whatever monstrosity of a zombie that was in the unit out. And so they have a breach in the military base. They know that it was Kurt. They see them on camera. And so now they're like, you know, now they're fugitives from the military, basically. They stop by a store because she's like, listen, I'm fucking hungry. You need to feed me now.
She goes right from the motherfucking Twinkies.
She does. Oh, God, Twinkies. If you know my husband, Mr. Cameraman, then you know that he has a weird hostess obsession, especially Twinkies. So, of course, he popped like a...
Some bitch.
Yeah, for her going right after the Twinkies. And then next, it was the snowballs, which those are gross. Don't eat those. Those are nasty.
I'll still eat them.
Of course you would. Anyways, but while this is happening, because she says, like, I'm not going to know what I want until I taste it. So she's, like, ripping them open, tasting them, you know, whatever. Well, they kind of, like, get into a scuffle with this, like, Latino group that's there. Which they then decide that they're going to steal from the store, and then they shoot the store clerk, and, you know, Kurt and his girlfriend cannot be there while this is happening. So, unfortunately for them, when Santos and his gang are, like, running out of the store, they mess up his bike. They can't get on his bike now, so they steal the store clerk's van. And then the store clerk's like, hey, take me to the hospital, because he's bleeding out, right? Okay, so now cut to car chase with the police. Julia realizes that, like, pain kind of makes the hunger go away a little bit. So she's, like, shoving, like, pins and things into her hand. Kirk's like, stop doing it. And, you know, they're, like, fighting, and the store clerk is like, you know what? Screw it. Like, let me out. I'll go with the police. Let me out. So he opens the door, and the police are really trigger happy because they shoot him, the innocent bystander. And what does Julia do? Well, Julia decides that she's gonna munch on his brains. Right? So they find an alleyway to hide in, and then the cops finally find them. But before the cops, you know, find them, they're able to sneak out through the sewer system. But the cops come upon the van, and they open it, and oh man, zombie store clerk, like, attacks them. And then the military's there, and, you know, they take care of whatever, and then they're, like, trying to find Kurt and his girl, right? So as they're, like, down in the sewer, you know, she's doing the thing again where she's like, I'm hungry. So she just, like she takes, like, a big ass metal spring, and she starts, like, digging it into her hand, and he's, like, telling her to stop, and they're fighting and they're arguing, and then he says, like, I just wish you were like what you were before, because now you're disgusting, and she just, like, fucking runs off. And of course she's like, well, it's because of you did this, you know. She was like, you should have just left me for dead. Anyways, so he goes off and chases her, finds her on a bridge where she decides that she's gonna jump off and just let the water carry her downstream. She's trying to kill herself. Lo and behold, she doesn't realize, like, bitch, you a zombie. You ain't gonna die like that. But, hey. So he climbs down after her. He meets the character that they lovingly call Riverman. Now, first off, when I saw the opening credits and I saw Riverman, I went, ooh, are we gonna get like a Tar Man situation, but he's like all riverside? No, 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 no. That's not what we get. And I was mad. We get this kooky old man who is spouting some weird stuff. Homeless, weird man spouting some crazy stuff. Anyways, him and Kurt go trying to find Julia. They find her. She coughs up a bunch of water and she's still alive. And she's like, God damn it. But then Santos meets him because they're mad because she bit like one of their friends and now he's like looking like he's got rabies, right? And he's freaking out. So instead of like taking their friend to the hospital, what are they gonna do? We need to find the bitch that bit him. Because that makes perfect sense when your friend looks like death. So they run into them and they flee them and they follow, you know, this is a classic story, right? So Riverman takes him to his sewer lair, home place. I don't know, guys. Where, you know, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. Julia and Kirk have some weird, like, zombie human relations after she sticks a piece of, like, I don't know, metal of some sort through her hand, I don't know, to calm her hunger. But while he's passed out asleep, and while Riverman is outside passed out asleep, she goes into full, like, Cenobite meets zombie meets dominatrix. Okay? So she, like, cuts slits into her neck and, like, weaves chain and stuff inside of it to be like necklaces. She like rips up her like, you know, top a lot. She's got piercings and stuff all in her boobs now. She sticks, sorry. You guys, if you remember back to the imprint, I have issues with people sticking things through their fingers, and she stuck metal wires through her fingers, and then she like had some kind of weird like boulder situation on her hand. Anyways, and what was it? Oh, the spikes on her shoulders. She had like Legion of Doom, like spikes coming out of her shoulders that she had like pried into her shoulders. It was quite interesting. But Santos and his gang, they come upon him. They open the door, and like after like, you know, kicking her butt or kicking Kurt's butt and Riverman's butt, she comes out like this weird, like, I don't know. She looks like, again, she looks like a Cenobite dominatrix, but now like with her movement, she looks like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, like, you know how he's all like crouched and weird. But she goes like kicking their butts, right? And she like ends up like actually like pulling half of Santos's spine away from his body. So he's all like giraffe looking now with his spine showing. That's what his zombie looks like. It's actually really not, I don't know. It doesn't look good, but like the concept is kind of cool, right? So, you know, she kicks everybody's butt. Unfortunately for them, they all turn into zombies. And as Riverman is trying to get Julia out, well, yeah, I mean, she's hungry. What does she do? She attacks Riverman and, you know, eats parts of him. But the military shows up. They boom, 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 freeze all the zombies, including Julia. Kurt finally, in a moment of like clarity, was like, you are not the same person that you were before. I'm gonna move out of the way, let the military handle this. Okay? Right. So, back at the base, where, you know, his dad is talking to him and is like, hey, listen, so I know like after your mom died, I wasn't there a lot, you know, and like I mean, I know that you're like a teenager now, but hey, I'm gonna spend more time with you. Good news. Yeah. But so instead of taking Kurt outside of the base while they're like talking, like shop talk, right? Like Kurt's like there and then he hears things and so he just like follows the noise. And turns out like one of the other like, you know, military women wants to put exoskeletons on the zombies because that's what we want these flesh-eating monsters to have. Yes, we want them to have some metal parts. Sounds absolutely fantastic, right guys? Yes. Yeah, so we get a glimpse of like all the guys. They're all like chained up and, you know, for some reason they're all naked with these red harness situations. It's weird. So odd. But we see Riverman and they have equipped him with this metal weird exoskeleton thing, right? So Kurt sees what's going to happen to Julia and he decides to break Julia out. Well, in turn of doing this, you know, the doctors who were scientists, whatever there are, that were working on the Riverman, they didn't get him quite locked into place to where he couldn't move. So now he's on a rampage. And now like everything's like getting messed up. And now there's all kinds of things getting knocked over that have zombies in it. And, you know, some crazy things are happening. But they hit the lockdown button, so Julia and Kurt can't get out. But Kurt does show Riverman the gold coin that he had given him. And something within, like, Riverman's brain is like, oh, yeah, friend. And he, like, rips open, like, the gate, right? Whew, friend. So as we're sitting there listening, you know, or watching this, lovely cameraman points out that Kurt is a fucking zombie whisperer. Because how else is he getting through to Julia and Riverman? And I mean, I don't know, guys. I do not know. But so, like, as chaos is running rampant through the base, right? Kurt's dad is like, you gotta get out of here, you know, whatever. But it's too late for Kurt because, oh gosh, during all of the commotion, he got bit by a zombie. Oh, man. Damn. So what does he decide to do? He decides to go to the infirmary. Yes, friends, that is right. He decides to crawl into the oven with his beloved Julia and burn to death together. And that's how the movie ends. Friends, that is how the movie ends. Our beautiful love story. See? Even the heavens don't believe it. Anyways, so there were points of this that I liked and points that I didn't like. I mean, her character design when she turns into the badass, like, you know, metal glass thing that she did to herself, it was cool. She looked good. I liked it. Story-wise line, one, I don't know why they named it Return of the Living Dead 3 when it has barely any connection to the first two at all. So cool. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's okay. You know, it's not bad and it's not good either. But yeah, it is what it is, right? All right, guys. So next week, again, we're gonna do zombies, and I'm gonna tell you what it is this time. We're gonna do this little movie. Don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Flesh Eaters. Yeah. We're gonna do Flesh Eaters. I've seen it. I have thoughts about it.
I love that.
Before I watch it again, I already have some thoughts about it. Good, bad, mediocre. We'll talk about it next week. So until then, guys, bye.